The question is, am I no longer teaching?
Yes. Are you no longer teaching? Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Hey there. Welcome back to Pod and Deliver. Today, we have actually, it's a little different episode. I have a couple questions from my brother here regarding his time this last few months and his thought process regarding, well, I'll say this, Ruben, there's rumor that you're no longer teaching. Is this correct? We'll start there maybe.
Well, is it a question? Am I no? Oh, the question is, am I no longer teaching?
Yes. Are you no longer teaching? Is that correct?
Yes and no. Let me explain. I think right now, I've decided not to teach this year. So, in order for me to answer why, I think you need to understand what I've been doing as a teacher for the last 6 or 7 years. So, I am an SDP English teacher. I have been that. So let me give you an idea of what that means. I teach 10th and 11th grade English. Regular curriculum, English teacher, this is my job. This is what I've been doing. And all that it entails. It's usually Shakespeare. Of Mice and Men I taught when I taught 9th grade, but the last few years I've been teaching 10th and 11th grade. It's not Of Mice and Men. So Steinbeck, a little Hemingway, a little bit of different authors, and all the grading that requires. And we do benchmarks, which means how are the students doing in August? How are they doing in December? How are they doing in June? Is there growth? So I'm sure you have benchmarks. You teach the state standards. I collaborate with other English teachers on across 9th, 10th, 11th. Like I say, I teach 10th and 11th, but we want to see, we want to collaborate so that we don't step on each other and things like that. So with other teachers. So that's pretty straightforward stuff. Here's the other part of what I do. That SDP means special day program. And that is the SPED part of my job. What that means is I have a caseload on my roster. I have roughly 15 students. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, depending. And what that means is I have to write IEPs for those students. I'm trying to get this under 10 minutes, and I'm going to do my very best. And that means that I have to write down their present levels of performance across reading, writing, and math in a database called Welligent for these 15 students. But not only that, I have to make sure that they're doing well and they're getting supported. Now, most of these students are mine. Okay, most of these students are my students, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they'll put a student on my caseload that I've never even met. Okay, I have to ensure that they're getting supported by all their teachers. They have to have, for those of you who are not familiar with IEPs, it is a individualized learning program. They have supports in each of their classes. They get certain accommodations. Okay. So I have to keep an eye on those kids, on all those kids. I have to contact parents periodically, pretty consistently. I have to talk to their teachers, make sure anything that happens that's negative, I need to know what's going on and report back to their parents. Let me talk to you about the IEP for a moment. An IEP, if you do it fast, okay, writing an IEP, to me, fast is 60 to 90 minutes. That's a fast IEP. But even if you could get it done, so you're sitting down, you're writing down the reading, writing, and math, present levels of performance. You're creating goals across those subjects or topics, reading, writing, math. And you, even if you can get it done within 60 and 90 minutes, which is to me, that's pretty fast. You have to go back and edit it and make sure there's no mistakes. This is a legal document, okay? I'm not even talking about triennial IEPs. That takes days because you have to test a kid across. If you get it done, everything goes right, it's done in 2 days. And when I say days, I mean you have to pull them out of class and you have to be out of class. You have to, because it takes a whole period to test them, and then the next day, a whole period to test them. Those are the best case scenarios. Okay. Now, so I have about 7 minutes. I'm trying to get this, give you an idea of why presently I'm not teaching. And you get an idea.
Seems stressful. I'm already stressed listening to you. This is a tough job.
We get a conference period. We traditionally get a conference period to accomplish some of these things. Because when are we going to write IEPs, right? When are we going to do it? I have to tell you, even with the conference period, when I started this job, I typically will, this is not a typical job for me. Okay, when I'm an English teacher and a SPED teacher, because I do both. Typically, my career is I either do one or the other. I've either been an English teacher or I've been a SPED teacher, not both at the same time. It really kicked me in the posterior when I first started this job, when I did both. I've never worked like that. Like I've never had a job like this. And my first year teaching, I was staying till 7 and 8 p.m. every night. So I would say that 6 to 7. I got to know the custodian. Her name is Angelica. I know her kids. I know where they went to church, what school they went to. We became friends because she sees me every day. When am I going to do the IEPs? When am I going to do it? I had to stay. Around the 3rd year of teaching, I had to change it to the weekends to do the IEP stuff. When I say the IEP stuff, not just writing IEPs. So coming to a close here. I have to write present levels of performance for for not only my caseload. I have to. So remember, what's in IEP, Jake? There's three things. Do you remember what I told you?
Individual education plan.
Reading, present levels, writing, and what else? The
Goals?
math.
Oh, math, yeah.
Writing and math.
Right.
Science? No. History? No. Reading, writing, and
math.
Think about it. There are people like me who are like me in the sense that they are SPED and math, SPED teacher and history, SPED and science. They're my equivalent, but they do SPED and science instead of SPED and English. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
Have their own caseloads of 15 or so kids, right? When they write their IEP, who do they go to for reading and writing present levels?
They go to you.
They go to me.
Got it.
I have to write all their present levels of performance.
So not just the 12 or 15 you have, but everybody's.
Everybody that is in all my English classes.
Jeez.
There's an equivalent of me. She teaches 9th and 12th. She's me, but 9th and 12th. I'm 10th, 11th. And I just sort of smile at her because I think whenever she takes on other tasks, I go, I'm in awe of you. She just got her PhD, and I could not wrap my mind around how she did it, because it takes hours and hours. My Sundays have been gone. It flipped. It'll be my Saturdays or my Sundays, but part of my Saturdays are thinking, oh my, all day tomorrow I have to work on IEP stuff. So last thing I'll say, around 2020, the 2022 year, not last year. So last year was 2022, 2023, 2021, 2022. It just so happened that one of my classes just got so big. So I had that conference period, right? We had one conference period. They took it away. They asked me, they said, we could have you travel or you could do your conference. I basically gave up my conference period. So Jake, no conference period. And that year I had a couple of 2 or 3 students that had a lot of needs. There was a kid that was on my caseload that I didn't even know. They just put him on my caseload. So I was getting calls about his behavior. when am I gonna? I literally had to leave class. I have no conference period. I literally would have to take calls in class about him. I go, I don't know when I'm going to be able to address some of these needs. So I would say, I need to make a phone call in class. And then and that year without the conference period, I guess I don't like talking about it's very impolite to talk about myself, especially for the last 10 or so. And I don't like saying what I'm about to say, but I don't think I was doing well that year. I did not have a good year. And it was the same year our father passed. So I remember reflecting on this and saying, this is too much for me. This is too much. There were times when I'm not the kind of person to just leave a job, but I remember thinking it's hilarious how much work I'm doing and there's no let up. And I almost walked out that year. I almost said, I can't do this. This is just too much. And then I started reflecting and I thought, man, I don't want to leave like this. I want to leave like feeling good about it. I was just stressed. And so this past year, it was a year later, I said, this will be my last year. And I'm not even saying quitting or retiring. I just need to leave and just take a break. It was really hard couple of years, but it was actually much better last year because I had my conference and they even added a conference period for me.
Oh, two of them.
I had 2 conference periods.
Whoa.
It was a big relief for me. So can you imagine the contrast? No conference period. I mean, we're talking my weekends were gone. That's when I did my IEP stuff. There was no chat, no time. Anyway. And I said, in my life right now, I could do the things I want to do because I'm financially flexible and I'm healthy. And maybe I could take not a sabbatical, but maybe a year or 2 off. And then I'll decide. So what do I like to do? I like to do a lot of reading, writing, and I do comedy. And so I was going to read to you a text message of a comic that told me something about how I work my comedy shows, but it's not necessary. It's just a chance for me to say that what I'm doing with my extra time, besides our podcast that we just started up again, sure, a lot of comedy and a lot of writing, things I've wanted to do and that I really enjoy. And I'm just taking a breather. Will I be back? I'm sure I will in some form or another, but it's going to be nice taking a year or 2 off, at least.
Wow, it's nice. I mean, nice that you're not, because I really was stressed when you were sharing all that. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't know. I knew that you had a tough job and you shared with me some of it, but the way you laid it out, there's a lot going on there. And I can't even believe they would even expect that of you. But that is just a different type of teaching too, because you were teaching English and you were teaching special ed and you had a caseload. In a way, I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but it sounds like you're more clear right now and you have a lot more, a lot more energy to you too. So that's great. And you have a suntan. Yeah. It looks like you have a good tan. I like that.
I went to Washington, D.C. I've always wanted to go.
Oh, cool.
It was hot and the sun hit me.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha.
I hope I didn't bore the audience.
No, but I do appreciate you sharing that. And were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
I think we should. I think it's important to know that I'm still a teacher, and I think we needed to say that because this is a teaching podcast,
right?
And brought it up too, but you're not going to be teaching. But I could ask questions. I could relate to a lot of teachers still,
and you taught. You have what 20 years experience or so, or something like that, more than that maybe. So yeah, I mean that's so important. But hey, I want to thank you, Ruben, for sharing that and letting the audience know. I know we don't always share all our personal things and things that we're going through, and this just seemed like the right time to do this. And thank you, audience, for listening in. And we hope you will be with us again as we talk to people, read books, look at movies. Thank you, and have a good night. Bye-bye.